Sir is an associate professor of finance and accounting with a total of 10 years of experience in academics and 2.5 years of industrial experience. His qualifications include a BBA and MBA in finance, Gujarat Set in management, a PhD in management, diploma in foreign exchange and risk management, a postgraduate diploma in research and methodology, and a BCom. He's having a total of 26 publications in various reputable journals like Scopus, ABDC, UGC CARE, Web of Science, etc., including a patent in Government of India, for which he had received the loyalty grant. Sir has also received 3 Best Research Paper awards in various international conferences. Sir is also a PhD guide. Now, with this, I invite Sir to begin today's session and share his insights with us. Over to you, Sir.
Yeah, thank you, Anu. Just confirm the screen sharing.
Sir, it's visible.
Right, thank you. Okay, so good evening all. And today's FDP is, in a more of a sense of research and innovations, right? Where it is a essential part of the academics, right? We all need to perform the research in a rigorous way and in a proper way. That is where this topic is having much relevance with all of us, and that is why we all are very curious and very conscious as far as the research component is concerned. And that is where the topic which is given over here is hypothesis testing and design, right? So hypothesis is very, very important parameter as far as the journey of research is concerned. The major component and the major crux behind by making this statement is the hypothesis is nothing but the statement that every researcher is proving at the end of the research journey, right? Whether we are drafting research paper, whether we are drafting PhD thesis, or whether we are drafting a major minor research project, right? So this is one of the major component that every researcher needs to prove it. And based on that, the findings of the research, the ultimate crux of the research will be justified. And based on that, the researcher will make the concluding point for the research component that he has executed, right? And based on the concluding component that we have it, we need to make some modification in the title. And that is where we have to have a conscious overview on the hypothesis testing, right? So what I feel is, and what I consider is, the hypothesis testing and design, I consider that is a midpoint, right? Or I consider it as a central point of the research journey, right? So this is the central point of research journey, right? So when I'm saying that it is a central point of the research journey, so there would be certain process, right, that every researcher needs to execute before that particular research work, right? So if at all if somebody is asking you that, before reaching to hypothesis, which process we need to execute, right? If we need to reach to the hypothesis, right? So there are certain before process and there are certain after process that every researcher needs to execute. So which before process that researcher needs to execute, right? Let's say if I'm talking about the hypothesis. So before reaching to hypothesis, what researcher needs to execute? Before hypothesis, what researcher needs to execute? Let's say if you are reaching at the hypothesis test stage, right, for your research paper or your PhD thesis or for your research project. So if you are drafting an hypothesis, what would be the base based on which we are drafting an hypothesis? Any answers?
Variables.
Variables. Little bit. We need to reach to the nearest variables. You are executing.
Research objectives.
Objectives.
Right. Yes. Yes. So objectives we need to define, right? So hypothesis will be defined based on the objective that we have, designed. Because ultimately, hypothesis is a statement to prove your objective, right? So wherever we are talking about hypothesis, ultimately we are making justification to the objectives that we have to prove at each and every level of study, right? So that is where we need to talk about the objectives of the study that we need to execute, right? So here we are talking about the objectives. So objectives are nothing but, the purpose for which the researcher is carrying his entire journey, right? Why researcher is carrying this particular work? So that is will be decided by the objectives of the study, right? Before objective, what researcher is doing? Let's say if I'm doing objective, right? Now before process I'm talking about. So if you have decided
Designing the research questions.
research questions, perfect. So research questions you are deciding, perfect. So research questions wherein you are getting variables, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Because here with the research questions, we are basically deciding the variables on which we are trying to prove the study, right? Or the variables on which we are trying to execute the particular study, right? So that is where we are designing research questions, perfect, right? So research questions, right? So research questions will create some, the base or the area, right? On which we are thinking that there is a scope to execute any of the study for the research that we are trying to prove, right? So that is where we are trying to identify the scope or the area or the domain on which researcher needs to carry out their entire research journey, right? So that is where the research questions, or I can say the variables of the study, needs to be identified. Okay, fine. So variables and research questions of this study are going to be defined based on what? What would be the before process for research questions and variables?
Sir, the topic?
Topic.
Yes.
Uh, you are missing one process before that. Topic is
It's a
correct.
review of literature. Literature review.
Can I say problem identification?
Yes, yes.
Right. Problem identification, right? Which is called research gap. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If I wanted to ask someone, what is research gap?
So it is the research problem which was not identified before, and after studying the literature review, we understand that this was done, and now we can do more in the future
Perfect.
study.
What has done in the past and what you will do? So difference between these two is called research gap. Correct? Yes. So what has done and what you will do, right? What is your expectations, right? And to fulfill those expectations and based on what has already been done by the previous researcher in the past, right? So you will try to make the variables or research questions to fulfill this gap. I hope it is clear. And this gap will be represented by the objective, and these questions will be reframed by the purpose of objective. And to achieve this purpose and objective of this study, people are making hypothesis testing. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Right. So before problem identification, which process that researcher is doing? How you will define problem identification? What has done in the past and what is your expectation, right? So what has done in the past needs to be identified with the SLR. Yes or no? That is called systematic literature review, right? So systematic literature review, you will do it based on every parameters, objectives, variable that you are looking. And to prove that variables and objective, you are making systematic literature review, wherein you are trying to identify what has done in the past, how it has been done, what variables has been executed, what sort of test and tools has been executed, and based on that, what was the findings and conclusions for the same. Yes or no? That is where we are getting identification of problem, research questions to justify the variables that we need to take out for the study. Based on the variable, we want to identify and we want to establish the relationship between the variable, and to establish the relation between the variables, to prove the relations among the variable, we are framing an objective. And to prove the objective in a statistical manner, research are framing hypothesis. Yes or no?
Yes,
Correct?
yes.
And before SLR, people needs to define the research idea, which is called title. I'm not saying the title word purposefully, right? But I'm saying that research idea or title, right? So based on research idea, we are making SLR. Based on SLR, we came to know what has done in the past and what is our expectation. So based on that, we are identifying the problems. Based on problems, we will frame certain variables and research questions for the domain or area which we can cover as a part of our research journey. So that is where we are making research questions and variables. Based on that variables that we have framed, we need to define the objectives of the study. Based on the objectives that we have defined, we need to frame the hypothesis for the study. And based on the hypothesis, right? So here we reach to the hypothesis, right? So as I already mentioned, this is a center point of the research journey. So this process is called before process. This process are called before process. Now, after hypothesis designing, what researcher are doing? Now we are talking about after process. Before is done, right? We reach at the center point. Now, what after process we need to do? After hypothesis, what usually
Collection of
researcher are
data.
doing? Sorry,
Collection of data.
can we say questionnaire designing?
Yes, yes. Mainly questionnaire and interviews.
Right? We need to design, right? Or finalization of variable, right? Or the sources of variable, rather I can say, from where we are going, right? If you are going for primary study, you will go for questionnaire designing or interview. If you are having financial data or any sources of data wherein you need to get it from the agencies, so you will going for secondary sources, right? Wherein you will fetch the data from authentic agencies of website, right? Or from the areas where the data is easily gettable, right? Or government sources of data, valid sources. What I'm saying is that is secondary data, right? So questionnaire designing, or the sources of data that we are going to get it. Then we will start making data collection. Correct? Once the sources has been identified, people will start fetching the data for the analytical point of view that researcher needs together for the data collection. Yeah, so that is what we are going to do as a part of analysis. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Then, after data collection, what we need to do is, once your data has been
Interpret the
collected,
data.
what we
Interpret
need
the
to do?
data. Analyze and interpret the data as per
Data
us.
analysis, right?
Yes.
And interpretations, right? So here researcher will decide data analysis and interpretation that he has to do, right? Now, this is very important. If we are talking about data analysis and interpretation, right? So which test, which tool I need to utilize? How can I decide?
So there are multiple tests, F test, then chi-square test, depending on whether we are
F
which
test,
type of
E
study.
test, Z test.
Yes, yes, yes.
And apart from that, you have multiple other tests like, factor analysis.
Parametric and non-parametric.
Right. So that is a part of F test, Z test, and T test, right? Apart from that, you have descriptive statistics, factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, right? So these are the various tests that you can apply for the research perspective. So which analysis tool you need to define is completely depends upon the type of hypothesis that you have framed. Right. Let's say if I am a researcher and if I am reading somewhere that my hypothesis is saying that there is no significant impact of employee motivation on the employee performance. So by looking at this hypothesis, if you are a researcher and you are doing a systematic literature review for the data, for the paper, what thought will come into your mind when you are reading this hypothesis? As far as data analysis tools and techniques is concerned, very technical, very important concept, right? Everywhere you don't have to go for reading entire paper, right? But somehow you have to make very smart decisions as far as the understanding and the clarity of thought is concerned for your research journey. So when any person is talking about the impact, right? So can anybody tell me which research tools and techniques will define the impact of any variable? Can I say regression?
So regression, sir, is it like SPSS is also can be included in this thing?
See, SPSS is a SPSS is a
Interpretation.
software, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So there is a difference between software and tools, right? Software consists multiple tools of analysis. I hope it is clear.
Okay, acha, ठीक है. Okay, sir.
right? Software consists multiple tools to analyze the data, right? You can go for SPSS, you can go for Orange, you can go for Grittle, you can go for
Yes,
R
so, uh,
software.
these softwares will provide us different tools on
Correct,
which it
correct.
will do this interpretation. Okay.
Yes.
So
Very new
regression.
tools is called where you apply statistical formula and get the answers in statistical terms.
Okay.
Yes, to your next question. Do you have any question, madam?
No, sir, the answer is regression.
Right,
Regression for effect impact evaluation. So we can go for regression.
correct. If I'm saying difference of opinion,
Difference in different DIF we can apply.
yes, right. So which test we need to apply in that case?
Uh, where sir? Hello.
Difference of opinion I need to measure among the respondent, right? So which test I need to apply? Again, it will be defined based on hypothesis, right? So let's say if you are saying difference of opinion, you can go for parametric or non-parametric test. Depends upon the types of variables that you have it, right? So under parametric test, you have multiple tests. You can go for ANOVA, you can go for independent sample t-test, you can go for 2D ANOVA, you can go for independent sample t-test, right? If the data turns to be not normal, you can go for Kruskal-Wallis, Mann-Whitney U-test, you know, Wilcoxon sign rank test, right? So there's multiple tools which you need to apply, but you need to see the sense of behavior among the data that you have collected. And according to the behavior of the data, you need to decide which test need to be applied. But again, which test need to be applied will be depend upon the hypothesis that you have framed. And this hypothesis is going to be justified based on the objective that we have decided. I hope it is clear. Done?
Yes, sir.
And based on data analysis, you might have findings and conclusion in the hands, right? So if findings and conclusions are in the hand, so this is the after process that after researcher is doing after hypothesis, and this is a before process that researcher is doing before hypothesis, and this is a center point, right? It's very important, right? You are giving a direction, based on whatever process that you have done before that. Based on that, the accuracy of the hypothesis will be defined based on the before process. And once you have done this process in an accurate way, you would be able to process the after process for the hypothesis in a proper manner. That is where the entire chain of this particular process is very important. And at this point of findings and conclusion, when you are reaching, right, purposefully I was talking that, I was not deciding like it's a research idea, but let's say if my research idea is somewhere else nearest to the title, where I'm considering as a research idea, because till the time I'm not having the finding and conclusion, I'm not in a position to decide my final title, because there should not be any deviation between what my title is and what my findings and conclusion is, right? So that is where, based on the finding and conclusion that I have derived, I may decide and I may modify or I may finalize my title of the study that on which I was doing the study. Yes or no? Because ultimately, the entire study needs to understand that there should not be any variation and deviation from the title and the findings that you have derived.
So, sir, basically, you are saying that if my finding, like I am saying that I support maybe like in the current times I am in Delhi and the AQI is increasing. So that is my topic of research, for example. And my finding is like the AQI is not that much. So should I change my topic according to it? Like I have not
See,
taken.
it is not like that AQI is there, the AQI is not going to impact. AQI is definitely going to impact, right, in Delhi. But there would be a possibility that your title should not
After
be
my
this.
research, like
No, what I'm saying is your topic is not that similar and very in a very uh, common language that AQI is affecting or AQI not affecting, right? You might have certain other variables that would be tried and tested based on the AQI that you have it on the human health and wealth, right? So that is where you might feel that there are two variables that you have taken in your title, but wherein you find that this second variable is not at all exist in the Delhi, right? So you should not make it in your title, right? Because you cannot decide your title in the beginning, right? Because you are making research, right? Wherein you don't know what is exactly going to be there, right? You are making, review, you are making collection of data, and based on that, you are trying to analyze the data, and based on analysis, you are trying to conclude that data, right? So based on that, you are not in a position to at least final. See, drastic change will not happen, right? But 5%, 10% modification is there. There would be certain other variables which you have not decided or which you have not thought about to be the part of your
But in
study
the journey, we can
that
put.
might came out, right? So you might have to give the positions or place that particular variable which found to be most significant, where you are not in a position to decide at the beginning of research, but at the end of the research it is there in your hands. So obviously you need to give that justification to your title, because research says that when publication has happened, the title should be justified with all the variables that you have taken in your research.
Oh.
Correct.
Sir.
So
And sir, is it like the hypothesis should be positive only? Matlab, is it something like that?
no.
Just
That
that
is
we
again
are
you are
assuming
making
something?
difference, right? Because let's say at the
I'm just
beginning
asking
you
because I have
no,
not done much
I'm
research.
making you understand that if you have decided certain variables in the beginning and at the finding and conclusion you are also sure that this is the finding and conclusion, then my question is why you are doing this research.
Right, right.
You
If
have
you will
taken
know the
five
answer in the
variables.
beginning only.
You have taken 5 variables. For 3 variables, you are having positive hypothesis. For 2 variable, it is negative. So this is actual study. I'm not saying that this should be divided into this. There would be possible that 5 positive and 5 negative could come, right? So this is alarming situation, because on what basis you are making research, because and this reflect you have not done the review of literature properly.
Oh.
Correct.
So it is
But
like, it is like we have to be diplomatic in our research, somewhere in
obviously,
between.
see, it's not like a diplomatic. You are giving
But it is
justification
like
to the
that.
results. Please try to understand. You are not making any modification in the data, right? Never ever have
Yes.
any manipulation in the data and analysis and
Mm.
outcomes.
Mm.
But based on outcome, you are suggesting to the people that if you are going to read this paper, see, you are a researcher, you are making entire process. And once your findings is in your hand, you are, हम बच्चों को सिखाते हैं कि भाई पैराग्राफ पढ़ो और उसका योग्य शीर्षक दो, राइट?
जी.
तो आपका फाइंडिंग्स क्या है? आपका पूरा एनालिसिस है, पैराग्राफ है, right? Based on findings, you need to give the proper title to your research.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
So as and
Got
when it got published in the future, and if somebody is going to read again as a part of SLR of your work, so at the time, research should be like that, and journals are also focusing like qualitative journals, that your title should be such that if people is reading your paper, so while reading the title and problem identification, people will came to know what variables you have taken, what objectives you have it, what hypothesis you might have framed, what data types you have collected, what analytical tools has been applied, and what could be the probable findings.
Okay.
Those who are experienced researchers are expecting this kind of synchronization process between before and after process of hypothesis. So this is a sign of research language, right? So it will understood by gradually when you enter into deeper manner, so that you will understand.
Thank you, sir.
Right. आप जब भी आप रिव्यू करेंगे तो आपको खुद पता चलेगा. But I'm saying about good quality journals like Scopus CBDC. I'm not saying that peer-reviewed journal which is available, right? Sure. So yeah. Now, first more question is why we need hypothesis? Why we need hypothesis?
We need some base to find about something like future research ke liye.
Let's say I'm saying that
What
you
is
are
my
taking
assumption?
the impact of AQI on Delhi population. What is the population of Delhi? 2 crore?
Yes, around.
Around, right? So will you collect the data from 2 crore people?
No, we need some sample. Yes, so we need to apply it
When you are
on
going for
user
sample study and
portion.
wherein you are not in a position to collect your entire population, this people needs to go for sample size, right? And sample size, whenever you need to go for it. So ultimately, being a researcher, your ultimate target is to conclude about the behavior and perception about the target population. But although you are not covering the entire population of Delhi 2 crores, but you are making representative of that populations through the sample study, right? Wherein you can't conformly say that what I'm thinking is the thinking of the rest of the 2 crore people, right? There would be some deviations, but almost it would be similar, right? If I'm saying that the AQI is affecting to the daily people health on multiple factors, so few people might have affected, Few people might have moderately affected, few people might not be affected, or they are just starting with the affecting, right? So
Now
for
they will
every person,
education, gender,
uh,
age, and all these things will also
so
be there.
until and unless people will not realize, they will not
Hmm.
be in a positions to define the severity of the AQI, in Delhi, right? So for every person, the answer would be different. But on and all, people are having the feeling that AQI is having an impact on Delhi, right? But there would be some deviations in the results that we will get it through the survey. So whenever we are making sample study, we are making inferences about the population result, right? We are making inferences about the population result, right? Because let's say if I have 2 crores, right? If Delhi people, right? So this is 2 crores. And now if I'm taking 1,000 sample, what is the analysis says that this is sample, right? This is population and this is sample. So for one sample, how many population I'm representing? 20,000. So what I'm saying is, what one sample assumption I have taken, based on that, I'm assuming that 20,000 population of next Delhi would have the same assumption or the same feeling for the impact of AQI on their health. And do you think that whatever assumption that we have taken from this one people would be the same for 20,000?
No, sir, it should not be actually. It
It
will
should
be
not
different
be,
on
right?
different time.
It should be almost similar, but it should not
No,
be complete similar.
exactly same. Then it will be a fraudulent data maybe.
That's why we are taking significance level 5% in social science. Why? Because we are making sample study wherein we are not taking the collection of data from each people. And this significance level is nothing but the chances of error. I hope it is clear. The chances of error is 5%. That means we are taking confidence level 95%. So whatever results that we are getting from the sample study would be 95% accurate, and 5% chances of deviations in the results could be possible. So that is where confidence level and significance level needs to be defined. Clear? Clear to all of you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So that is where the hypothesis is an assumption about the population based on the sample that we have collected. And that is where we are trying to portray the characteristics of the entire population on which we are making this study through the means and variances, right? So you can see this is null hypothesis, this is alternate hypothesis. So null hypothesis says that average is equals to 0, and alternate hypothesis says that population is not equals to 0, right? So that is where it must need to be done before analysis, because we have already seen this. The hypothesis needs to be defined before analysis, right? That's why I have taken this process before and after. Clear? Okay. So testing and hypothesis, we have already seen that it is an assumption about the population from the sample size that we are taking up. And after collection of data, the researcher calculate the sample statistics, right? So we may calculate various sample statistics like mean, variances, highest value, lowest value, range of the value, right? Skewness, kurtosis, many things we will try to get it right as a part of descriptive statistics, right? And based on that data, we will try to make an assumption that whatever sample results that we have generated are correct for the entire population or not, right? So that is where we are making hypothesis, right? So basic assumptions for testing hypothesis, right? If somebody is saying that I'm making the testing of hypothesis, so what assumption I need to make it out? That is where we need to have a thoughts, right? So first of all, we need to validate the data. So based on the data that we have collected, we must have to validate the data between the sample means hypothesized value and the actual value, right? We need to validate the data in terms of every individual value needs to be taken. And based on, let's say whatever average, like let's say if I have a variable one wherein I have 50 samples. So let's say 50 samples is average is 50. So based on this average 50, I will make an hypothesis that H0, wherein, the X bar equals to 0, or H1 is X bar is not equals to, 50, right? We had average of 50. So if this assumption needs to be met, I will check that the rest of the variables which I have it, they should be nearest to the 50 value. If there is, my p value should be greater than 0.05. If they are deviating from each other, wherein the deviations are more in comparison to 50, let's say one is having 58, another one is having 41, second one is having 62, fourth one is having 39, right? So you can see this, the deviation of each figure from each one another is quite high, and that is where the deviation is quite high, and I can assume that every variables are not equals to 50, wherein I will get this p value less than 0.05. Clear to all of you? And greater than and less than with the acceptance and rejection, I will tell you. This is the distribution curve for the hypothesis, right? So whenever we are talking about acceptance and rejection region, we are talking about which hypothesis? Are we talking about the acceptance and rejection limits for the null hypothesis or alternate?
The null hypothesis.
Correct. Right. Acceptance region for null and rejection region for null, right? So acceptance for null and rejection for null, right? So acceptance for null is H0 and rejection for null is also for H0. So what is this acceptance limit is when your H0 greater than 0. When your p value greater than 0.05, you are in the acceptance region of null hypothesis. And this is rejection region is when your p value is less than 0.05, you are in the rejection region of null hypothesis. Clear? For an example, if my p value is equal to 0.100, so can anybody tell me which condition I am fulfilling? And if my p value is 0.000,
0.100 is acceptance one, and next one is rejection one.
correct.
Rejecting the null.
If this p value is 0.00, can I consider it this is significance level? Wherein I can write 0.05, 0.05. Now you tell me out of this value, which one is highest one? Right. So mathematically, the big bracket will open in front of the highest value. Again, for this, out of this two, this one is highest, right? So this one is open against this. So how can I read this? P value is greater than significance value. Yes or no?
Yes.
P value is greater than 0.05.
Yes.
Can we fulfill this condition? We
Yes.
fulfill that condition. So we fail to reject, right? We fail to reject the null hypothesis means we accept null hypothesis. I hope it is clear. Right. And that is where this value falls under the acceptance region. Any value which is greater than 0.05 will fall under the acceptance region of null hypothesis. Clear? And any value which is less than 0.05 will fall under the rejection region of null hypothesis. That is what the condition we were talking about. So if null hypothesis is accepted, so here H1 got rejected and here H0 got rejected. So H1 got accepted. So H1 is saying that you madam was saying, okay, sir, every time it is required that the hypothesis should be positive. No. No difference is also the result, right? Because let's
So,
say
sir,
if I'm
actually,
saying,
sorry, sir, I had this doubt that a hypothesis. So we are making hypothesis of every objective. Like I took 5 objectives for my research, for example. So am I making hypothesis for every objective, or is it a collective one? So it is a confusion for me.
see, hypothesis is never going to make for objective. It is going to make based on objectives variable that you have it.
Okay, the variables which I am taking. So for
Right. Let's
each
say
variable, I will have one.
if my objective is, I wanted to identify the socio-demographic profile of yours, right? So wherein I don't need to apply, any assumptions. Let's say you are from gender male and female. So when you are saying male, so then it is final, right? That you are male or female, right? But if I have to check for every male and female, what is their assumption about the impact of AQI on their health positions, right? So wherein I need to take those data because it is a qualitative form of data which I need to convert into quantitative form. And based on quantitative form, I need to apply various statistical tests, which is going to be applicable based on the types of data that I have collected. right? So
Okay, so are
hypothesis
you
could be
saying
made
that
for,
hypothesis is applied for the whole research, or there is only one hypothesis? So if it is rejected, then the whole research is wasted. Okay, now
no,
I'm
no.
clear.
So there is no compulsion
For
that,
every variable,
one, uh, let's say you want to check out the
okay.
difference of opinion among the people, right? So your one hypothesis could be based on gender. Your objective is only
Hmm.
one, but that difference of opinion you are taking from various profile, right? So one objective is for gender, right? There is no difference of opinion among the respondent
Hmm.
towards the impact of AQI on their health position based on gender profile. Same way for age profile, education profile, occupation profile, type of industry in which they are working. Yes or no?
Location, where they are living. Yes, sir.
Right. So objective was one. There are multiple sub hypotheses, but those
Okay.
hypotheses have been designed based on the variable that you have taken up.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. All right.
Then your next objective is like, you are checking the impact of AQI on health position. You might have given some space for the people's satisfaction towards the Delhi Municipal Corporation or Delhi Metropolitan Corporation, जो भी आपके वहाँ पे है, उनकी कामगिरी के ऊपर
Hmm.
उनका क्या ओपिनियन है, right? So wherein you need to take out various variables for which the
Hmm.
Delhi Corporation is working on it. So again,
Hmm.
for every parameters of the working satisfaction of the corporation, you may check the people's behavior and opinion.
Okay, sir.
Clear? So again, for that, there
Yes.
is certain hypothesis, 7, 8 more hypothesis would be there, which is going to be applied. So there is no compulsion that one hypothesis is never be there.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
at all in the part of any research. There could be one
Hmm.
more, one final hypothesis or main hypothesis, but there would be certain more multiple hypotheses wherein you need to justify the study. Even you are applying any one regression model, right, for multiple regression model. So if you have a 4 variables, so minimum 3 hypotheses you will generate based on, you know, the objective that you
Okay.
have decided. Let's say you have impact of AQI on people's health. So there would be a
Hmm.
different parameters of impact of AQI. So might be you have taken 3 variables of impact of AQI on human health. So these variables could be your hypothesis, and that you need to prove it out through the regression model. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how you can see this. Let's say I have taken the marks, right? If I'm a faculty, I have taken the average of the accounting marks in this class for 60. It was 81 as an average. So I will check that, for every one student, let's say for this first student, it is 58, but the average is 81, right? For second student, it is 60, but the average is 81. For third, it is 98, average is 81. So do you find that these are nearest to that, or there is a difference in comparison to the average mark we have received? Are they nearest to 81 or they are far deviated from the 81?
Deviated.
So there is a deviated, right? आप difference देखिए 23, 21 and 17, right? So there is a huge difference, right? So that is where you can see this. The study begins assumption null hypothesis to be true. तो अगर मुझे इसको if I need to convert into verbal form, this average marks of the students equals to 81. And average marks of the students not equals to 81. So which condition we are fulfilling here? Are they equal to 81 or they are deviating from 81? So you might have heard in statistics like x
Deviating.
minus x bar, you were calculating x minus x bar whole square, you must have calculated. Remember that
Mean.
in standard
Yes.
deviation, this was x. So based on x, you have calculated x bar. Then next column is x minus x bar. Second column is x minus x bar. Then you had a formula sigma
Yes, yes,
x
yes. We
minus
have
x
a
bar
mean and we are
whole square divided
calculating
by
the
n.
standard
This is
deviation.
standard deviation, right? So if this x
Hmm.
minus x bar deviation is high, your standard deviation could be high. And if your standard deviation is high, your average mark is not equals to 81. And when you have this kind of conditions, your p-value will always be less than 0.05.
It will not be accepted. Hmm. Okay.
Yes, for null, it is. So average mark is not equal, right? There is a deviation. And one more thing I wanted to tell you on this front, 95% of the data on social science which has been collected through the survey are going to be not normal. Just try and see. 95% of the time, the data which we have collected from the respondent as a part of their behavior, opinion, perceptions, for all the marketing, finance, or HR terminology, they are not normal. That is where you can't apply parametric test. Many times guide are forcing like you apply ANOVA. But by before applying ANOVA, you must have to check the parametric, non-parametric. That's what we are talking about, validity and reliability of the data. So according to that, you need to decide which type of test is going to be applied, right? You can't put the test from your pocket and you can inform your research scholar that you apply this test. There would be some logic, there would be some science in the statistics based on which you need to apply the test. So all this science needs to be applied. I hope it is clear.
Yes,
And many of the times you must see that the guides are also insisting like uh, your hypothesis should be positive. That means they are insisting that this hypothesis should get accepted. So whenever multiple times this hypothesis got accepted, 99% of the time these data are not normal. That's why you can't apply parametric, you need to go for non-parametric test. But people are doing parametric
so
forcefully.
what is the meaning of not normal here?
This is a distribution curve of the data. So this is normal, like
Okay, skewed,
positive and negative
skewed
side,
wala.
the data equally distributed, right? But here you can see
Yes.
this is equal distribution.
Okay.
One data
Yes.
is here, one data is here, one data is here. So this is called skewed data. This is
Skewed.
called positive
Yes.
skewed, negative skewed, right? So that is where the distribution is not normal. Yeah. Okay. So significance level, as we said, this is called chances of error. Why we are taking chances of error? Because please try to understand, in social science, we are not studying entire population, but we are studying the representation of the population, wherein it is called sample size. So whenever sample size is there, the hypothesis will come into picture. Hypothesis come into picture, significance level is coming into picture. In social science, we usually take 5% because human behavior keep changing, human opinion keep changing, and human behavior and opinion are going to be affected by multiple parameters, which is prevailing in their nearest surrounding. Even people are saying something in the morning and they might have something to say in the afternoon, right? And they might have something to say in the evening, right? Also, so depending upon this significance level, based on this field or science in which we are, it is going to be decided. Like for medical science, if I'm talking, so it is not allowed more than 1%, right? Why? Because here human opinion and behavior does not matter. Here the impact needs to be measured of the medicines, right? And this impact, if variating or deviating more than 1%, it can hamper human bodies in a drastical way. It can damage any organs of the human body. That is why the chances of error in this kind of sciences field and faculties, only 1% allowed. You must remember the COVID-19 vaccination, where entire world was in a trouble, was panic. At that time, medical agencies were developing the vaccinations for the COVID-19, and many a times we were watching the news channel. They were claiming like 84% was effective, Covishield and all this. So just imagine how much significance level they have taken. 16%. Just see the deviation in your human body if it is 84%, right? Clear? When in social science, we are also taking 95. But at that time, it was an initial stage of COVID-19 where government and people needs to support and cooperate each other. And it is not for Indian government also, it is at the panic level for the world level, right? So that was the time where people were thinking. But again, 84 and 16 was a ratio. So that 84% effective means the 84% is a positive impact, and there would be a chances that it could vary from person to person. We can't claim that it is exactly 60% for 6. For some person, it could be 6 also. For some person, it could be 16 also, right? So depend upon the human body and the nature that you have it and the locality in which you are staying, the impact may vary. This is distribution curve. We have already seen different tests. So you can see this. I was talking about normality test to check the normality of the data. So this is the hypothesis assumption. दुनिया में 2 हाइपोथेसिस ऐसे हैं जहां पे नल हाइपोथेसिस में कभी नो नहीं लिखा जाता है। एक होता है नॉर्मालिटी का और एक होता है होमोजेनिटी का, राइट? बाकी सारे इन्फरेंशियल स्टैटिस्टिक्स ऑफ हाइपोथेसिस is consisting no words, but these are the two hypotheses. One is normality and another one is Leibniz statistics for homogeneity of variance, right? For these two statistics, the null hypothesis never consists no, and that's why here it is. Null hypothesis says that data are normally distributed, alternate says that data are not normally distributed, right? So this is two hypothesis assumption on this study which is given over here. So you can see this significance level. So this is 0.00, 0.00, 0.00, 0.00, right? So you tell me this is significance value means p value, right? So how should I write this? This is 0.00 and significance is 0.05. You tell me which one is higher. Out of these two value, which one is higher?
0.05.
Right. So I will open this two bracket in front of 0.05 because it was big. Now I can read p value is less than 0.05. So if p value less than 0.05, which hypothesis got accepted?
The null. नहीं, confuse हो गई मैं. Alternate.
Correct. So alternate got accepted. What is alternate hypothesis saying over here?
Data are not normally distributed.
If data are not normally distributed, which test you need to apply? Parametric or non-parametric?
Non-parametric.
I hope you are getting idea. And if it turns to be positive, like, if this p value was 0.100 or something, you need to go for this, and wherein you need to apply parametric. Clear? Okay. So you can see this parametric test. I was saying that there was another hypothesis wherein null hypothesis does not have no. So this is the hypothesis, Leibniz statistics, homogeneity of variance, right? So based on this, you have to check that whether this value will justify your answer or this value will justify your answer. But in both the case, answer is similar, but that is not matters to us, but wherein you need to also judge the t values for the same. So you need to check the homogeneity of variance, and this is the hypothesis for this homogeneity of variance. So homogeneity of variance says that equal variance assume equal variance, not assumed. Again, you can see the significance value for homogeneity of variance. You tell me which hypothesis got accepted. Just write like this.
The null one, no? P.
Significance 0.05.
0.05.
So which
again the alternate one is accepted.
Clear? So alternate got accepted. So we
Well,
have to remove this result. We will not check this.
Okay.
We will check this. And again, this over here. Now, whenever you are applying any parametric or non-parametric test, these tests are called inferential statistics. क्या बोला जाता है उसको? Inferential statistics, right? Whether you are applying independent sample t-test, you are applying ANOVA, whether you are applying Kruskal-Wallis, you are applying
non-parametric test.
This is called inferential statistics.
Inferential statistics.
Right. So there are three types: normality, Leibniz variance, and inferential. Right. So homogeneity, variance, and normality can be the assumption to decide which inferential statistics I need to use. Either I should go for parametric or either I should go for non-parametric. So whenever you complete these two assumptions, then your null hypothesis will start getting negative. I hope it is clear.
Okay.
There is no significant difference. You can see this, there is a significant difference. Now, over here, alternate was negative. Here it is, null is negative in inferential. For normality and Leibniz statistics, null was positive, alternate was negative.
Negative.
Clear? This is difference that we need to understand. The acceptance and rejection of p-value for null and alternate hypothesis will not change. Only the language will change for null and alternate. The acceptance and rejection region for null and alternate hypothesis is universally common for all. Understood? The language for null and alternative will change for normality and inferential, right? You can see this. Understood? So now you can check this value 0.00. Again, you can see this same way. Which hypothesis got accepted?
Alternate.
Correct. So there is a significant difference between the population mean. And if you
Mm.
want to check, you can see the mean difference. Mean difference is 2.14, which is quite
Mm.
high, right?
Mm.
Because the lower limit was 1.55, upper limit is 2.34, 1.57,
Mm.
2.32. Wherein mean difference is coming 2.4. You just see that. So it's quite
Mm.
high. That means the deviations in the observations are quite high. That
High.
proof the difference of opinion is there. So
So
if you're
this
talking
Athens test, so what is it? This is another test.
yes. And one more thing I wanted to tell you, whenever you are talking about inference statistics, null and alternate hypothesis, acceptance, rejection, always check that, right? This is for your knowledge. If your p-value is turning out to be 0.0000, your p-value, z-value, f-value will always on the higher side.
Higher side as in higher from what?
It would be 2 digits or nearest to two
Acha.
digits,
Very higher, like.
right? Let's say if your p-value is 0.100, so the t-value would be 0 point something or 1 point something like that.
Oh, okay.
So if your t, there is an inverse relationship between your t value, p
T
value,
and F.
z
Okay.
value, f value, and what probability value that you have it. Clear?
Okay. Okay.
Same way, ANOVA. Now you will clear having a difference. This is again inferential statistics. So you can see this null is having no and alternate is having positive, right? So out of this significance value, you can check this. See this. This is 0.3330, right? So it is significance value is this is significant value, which is greater than 0.05 or less than
Greater than
greater
0.05.
than, right? So you check this. This is 0.333. So F value is low, right? 1.163.
Ah, okay.
You see this again, is it greater than or less than 0.05?
Greater than
So
or
you see
less.
this less than, F value is low. But you now see this is greater than or less than.
Less than.
So check this F value is high. And that is where this is less than. So alternative is accepted over here. So if you want to go for any advanced study for parameter wise understanding, so you will check only this variable. You will not check this, you will not check this because there is no difference in this. Right? In ANOVA, people are going for, this test, post-hoc test. So if you want to do post-hoc test, you need to go for this variable. You can't go for post-hoc test for this because it proves that there is no difference overall. For this also, you can see this. So you can check this F value also very low. You can see this p value is very high, so f value is very low. So again, for this factor, you also don't need to go for difference of opinion. I hope it is clear.
So in which the F is
This
high, we have to check it.
p value is low, less than 0.05. This variable is called, there is a statistical difference. For this, for
Oh,
all
acha.
this, null is accepted. If null is accepted, you don't need to go for further analysis.
It is accepted, obviously. So we are finished. We are done. If it is
Correct?
not accepted, then we will move forward.
Yes.
Okay. Acha.
So you can see this. I found that user-friendly factor. You can see this over here. User-friendly factor. So for user-friendly, you have multiple age category where you have find difference of opinion. Again, over here, you need to check the p-value for every age group wise. So you can see this. This is greater than 0.05. This is also greater than 0.05. This is equal to 0.05. This is greater than 0.05, but this is less than 0.05. So if somebody is saying that under the factor of user-friendly factor of online banking, which age group of consumers are making significant difference of opinion? So answer is above 60 years.
Above 60 years.
Clear for online banking practices? Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is how hypothesis needs to be proved. Right. So same way you have to check all the p-values and you need to give the judgment. So thank you so much, all of you. You can post your queries if you have it. I'm ready to answer. Yes. Any queries, any suggestions, any opinion?
So we have to do this process, sir, in every type of research which we are doing.
Yeah. because every research will carry hypothesis, right? Because
Hmm.
you need to go for samples. Even you are going for secondary data, like, if you want to check the financial health of any company, so
Hmm.
financial health can be checked by many variables. I can check with net profit, I can check with EPS, I can check with price earning ratio,
Hmm.
right? I can check with
There are
CPI,
multiple
WPI
ratios
index.
and
But
yeah.
at a time, you cannot check all the variables, right? You might
Hmm.
have to take like net profit, return on investment. I can go for P ratio, right? So if I'm
Variable
going
by
with P
variable.
variable, so this
Hmm.
is three sample out of the parameters for net financial health. So I need to go for the hypothesis. Then if I apply for regression, and if my literature review is proper by identifying those variables. So in regression, there is one term which is called, y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1, beta 2 x2, and then error. So if
Hmm.
I have identified the right kind of variable at the right time, my error term would be very low, right? So
Okay.
if this error term is very low, my result is more reliable to judge on the parameters which I have studied. But if my error terms is very high, so it indicates that the parameter which I have taken for this company to measure financial health are not sufficient to justify whatever results that I have received. There would be some
Hmm.
other variables which are having significant impact, which I somehow missed out. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Any other query, suggestions, anyone?
Sir, if in any case this was a recorded session and if we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
get
It is on YouTube. You subscribe to RFI channel. It is live broadcasting going on.
no, the way you explained today, I'm saying that session
Okay.
recorded.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
It was very clear and concise.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So you are PhD scholar somewhere?
Yes, sir,
Sir,
I
I
am.
have a question here.
Yeah, yeah. You finish, madam,
Is
please.
this
You are PhD scholar,
sir?
madam?
Is this
Remember?
technique applicable?
Yes, sir, in North Cap University, Gurgaon.
Okay, okay. Yes, Shyamlal sir.
Sir, is this statistical section is applicable for literary studies as well?
It is applicable for?
Literary studies, sir.
You are in which stream?
Descriptive studies.
Ah, it is
I
descriptive.
mean,
Okay, okay.
yes, sir,
See, for
yes.
descriptive study, it is applicable, right? You can go for one variable test. Like we have seen the one independent sample t test, right? So you can go for one sample, but usually descriptive study don't need hypothesis until and unless you need to make some comparisons. So let's say if I'm checking some frequency
Yes,
analysis
sir.
of male and female, so there is no hypothesis, right? Because if somebody is saying I'm male, so I'm male, right? If somebody is saying I'm female, so there is a female, right? So there is no assumptions in that. I'm not making assumption based on what gender I am, right? But I'm making assumption based on in which gender I am, and based on that, what my assumption is for certain topics, right? So for gender to gender, assumption would be different, right? I cannot say that one male is having this opinion, so another male should also have that opinion, and vice versa. Wherein I need to introduce hypothesis because I'm going for sample study and I'm not conducting the entire population as a part of my study.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any other questions?
Are there any questions, anyone? Or any doubts?
Yeah, any query, any suggestions, any doubt, please ask. Yeah, I think there is no questions, madam.
So, shall we conclude then?
Yeah, yeah, please.
Okay, sir.
Till if
So,
you
on
have any
behalf of
query,
the
you can
entire
reach out, right? Fine,
on
madam.
the
Yeah, you
behalf
can
of
conclude.
entire RFI team, thank you so much, sir. It was a really amazing, enriching, and knowledgeable session. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the participants for the active participation. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Yeah.